I'm your host, Justin Rosette. Today, we have Dr. Vita Jones, a professor in the Special Education Department here at Cal State Fullerton. Dr. Jones specializes in training future educators on innovative strategies to support young children with disabilities. She earned her doctorate in special education from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and has worked as a special education facilitator and educator. She has presented both domestically and internationally and has authored numerous publications on early childhood education, diversity, and resilience. Without further ado, Dr. Vita Jones, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And thank you for doing this interview today. How are you doing today?
I feel really good. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, thank you for being here today. And so, without further ado, we'll get to our first question. So, with your background in special education, I guess from an early age, what led you to wanting to pursue this career?
What led me to want this career was the opportunity my mother had. She and a group of women started the first Head Start program in our city. And of course, my mom enlisted and I got drafted. So after working with her, just a natural love for children, and it evolved from there.
Okay, thank you. Now, going a little more into your childhood, you mentioned that you are a woman of faith. And so I wanted to ask you, how did your faith influence you in wanting to do this career from a young age?
Absolutely. Our community of African Americans in Spokane, Washington, where I grew up, was very small. So we were close-knit and often helped each other. Part of that help involved my mother as a foster care mother. So we had children in our home quite a bit. And so we had a natural love for children. And then through the church, we taught Sunday school and just were engaged with children on a regular basis. And then once again with the Head Start program, I was exposed to working with children. But what made me really interested in special education was the number of African American, particularly boys, that I saw in special education.
Thank you. And now next I wanted to ask, within special education right now, what are some of the more pressing issues that you see right now and how can teachers address them?
Okay, teachers need to be armed with cultural pedagogy, understanding how to work with different types of children, also fostering effective partnerships with their families. I think these are two issues that should be addressed.
And so with this being your last semester as a full-time professor, as you mentioned, what has been the most rewarding part of teaching at Cal State Fullerton?
The most rewarding part of teaching here is seeing the light come on in students' eyes and them showing a passion for working with students with disabilities. And not only do I feel like I've been able to give them relevant content, but my own educational experiences working with students as well.
And so you've done a lot of research in your career and different traveling. So in your research with over 1,000 African American families, were there any specific cultural or community-based factors that played a role in helping students succeed?
Yes. I did a Delphi study in 5 churches in Las Vegas, Nevada. And some of the findings from the Delphi study were siblings and parents' influence on students made a great difference in how well they fared in school. And because my study was done in churches, I do believe that the church gave an opportunity for students prior to even going to kindergarten to come into a social setting, know how to behave, be a part of activities such as saying your Easter speech, and learning just the nuances of navigating with other people.
And so I wanted to ask, for a little more context, what exactly is a Delphi study, and what part of your career led you to doing that?
Okay, the Delphi study is a series of surveys. Usually if you do a survey, you just have one shot. Well, with the Delphi study, you do a series of 3. Mine was 3. And I took the top findings off of the first survey, put them on the second survey, went back to the same group, and then did the same thing again, and it yielded the top 5 answers of what strategies help students become resilient. And I defined resilience by being able to graduate from high school.
And so with February being Black History Month, I want to ask, what does Black history mean to you exactly? And is there any particular way in which you like to celebrate Black History Month?
Yes, there is. First, I love to cook, so I gather friends and family, and I make traditional foods that I grew up on, and just have fun. We may watch a movie. The other thing I did this year that I really enjoyed was I attended the Black History Parade in Anaheim, and I just enjoyed finding out what organizations are in Orange County and meeting people, and they had delicious food trucks.
And so you said you like to cook, so I have to ask, what are some of your best dishes, the dishes that you like to make the most?
Oh, greens, cornbread, macaroni and cheese, sweet potatoes, fish, chicken. I'm not a baker, but I relish the chance to bring folks together and break bread.
Thank you. It reminds me a little bit of home with some of those dishes that you named. And so next, going off of the back of Black History Month, I wanted to ask, who are some of the figures in African American community, past or present, that you looked up to coming up in your career?
Okay. Well, I've been to South Africa, so I'm enamored with Nelson Mandela and going to the prisons and just traveling through the same land that he traveled. But I'd have to say my most inspirational figure is my mother. My mother hails from Shreveport, Louisiana, and only had a high school education, but was determined for me to go to college. And she worked as a domestic, cleaning homes, and saved money, S&H green stamps, and all other ways to make sure that I was educated. And I just really appreciate her sacrifice.
And so you talked about your mom kind of urging you to go to college, and so you attended UNLV. And so I wanted to ask, how was your experience at UNLV, and how did that, I guess, propel you forward in your career?
I love being at UNLV. I was already in the community. I was living in Las Vegas at that time. And I had put off going back to school. I didn't even want to go for a PhD, but I met the right group of people that encouraged me. I had a phenomenal advisor who sat with me and helped me do paperwork and encouraged me when I got discouraged and just kept me engaged until I completed the 5-year PhD program.
And so next I wanted to ask, as being an African American person in higher education yourself, what do you think is the most impactful thing that other African Americans in higher education can do to help move the community forward?
I think we have to pay it forward. We have to find the newer generation coming through and just sit with them, be a part of them. I relish my time in the ARC, going over and just listening to the voices and providing support, trying to cut through the chase with some of the red tape that boggles students down so that they can stay engaged in the educational process until they graduate.
And so you mentioned red tape. Could you elaborate a little more on that? Like, what is it that's holding students down?
There are things that you don't know, and oftentimes you don't know what you don't know until it's too late. Maybe you need money for books. There are grants that you can get to cover books. Maybe you just need a tutor, someone to help you with your writing. So instead of, falling back and getting behind, if you have a mentor or someone that can share with you their own struggles, and you can diffuse some of this imposter theory, feeling like you may not belong. The demographic of African Americans here is about 2%. So you like to see yourself reflected in the environment, and so using any success that you have in your life to help the next generation come through.
Yeah, I think like you said, kind of giving back to others, like other Black students as you once were, I think is so powerful, because especially at a school like ours where there aren't a lot of Black students, I think that can be powerful to hear from somebody like you. So I wanted to say thank you for that. And next I wanted to ask, so you've studied in lots of places. You've been to China, you've been to Africa a couple times, as you mentioned, and Las Vegas as well. In what ways has traveling influenced your resilience in the classroom and beyond?
First, I want to say thank you to CSUF. That made it possible for me to travel to numerous countries. And the question was, how does that impact my teaching?
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things that stands out, and it is in alignment with resilience, is how students that may not have as much as we have take advantage of opportunities and do well. And they use their cultural competency to get through challenging times. They come together and they help each other. One particular place I traveled was Kliptown, South Africa. And a township that I visited had 100% graduation rate.
Wow.
So I went to explore that, and I found out that when a student goes through the program, they don't immediately leave and go to college. They stay on and mentor the group behind them. So there's so much emphasis on the group and not just the individual. And so to see your mentor, graduate and then stay there until you matriculate through is powerful.
And so I wanted to ask, in your experience with traveling, just how much joy has that brought you, going to other places and being able to help people within special education or otherwise? Just how much joy has that given you traveling in your career?
It's very exciting. I think one of the things I learned in my travels, I often thought, I'm going to go and help someone. And that was not the case. They helped me. When I learned how they did things and were successful, and I gleaned on that, I was able to bring that back to students here that may be, facing a challenging time, and share it and let them know you can make it. We're here to help you, provide support. So international travel broadens your perspective on education tremendously.
And so lastly, Dr. Jones, I'd like to ask, as you wrap up your full-time career here at Cal State Fullerton, what would you like your legacy, I guess, to be known as here on this campus?
Okay, people first. I think with the advent of technology, people can find out information anywhere. But a human connection, put a face on what you're learning, makes the difference. That's what I'd like to leave.
All right. Thank you so much for this interview today. And I want to say thank you for being Black History here on our campus, and that we appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us today and learning more about Dr. Vita Jones and her incredible work. As she finishes out her final semester here at Cal State Fullerton, we are grateful for all the contributions she has made to the field of special education and to the campus community. Her dedication and expertise have left a lasting impact, and we look forward to seeing the continued influence of her work in the future. Until next time, I'm Justin Rosette, and this has been In Focus.